Welcome back to All About Arsenal. And today, as always, we're going to take a quick look at what happened in the game week 13 in the Premier League. Right now, there's no more international football between now and March next year. So the games are going to come thick and fast. I'm really loving that. So, Dom, it's been a while. You've been on the channel. Good to see you. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, very well, thank you, mate. How about you?
I'm great. I'm not for some reason I'm not feeling as good as I expected to be coming into this stream.
No,
yeah,
we all were hoping for 3 points, right?
yeah, we're hoping for 3 points. And I guess we're going to talk about that when we get into it. So, as always, welcome again to the stream. We're going to talk about our agenda. And we'll start with the Arsenal match review, which we always do. Then we'll take a look at our title rivals, see how they panned out in their own games. Then, of course, we'll take a roundup of all the other Premier League fixtures and results. Then my panelist, Dom and Achike, who is going to join us very soon, we'll talk about the surprise of the week. We'll have a quick look at the injury watch, the folks that got injured in game week 13 and how it affects their team. And, of course, we'll have a look at the Premier League table and take a quick look at the game week 14 predictions. So we have Achike on the stream as well. How are you doing, brother?
Very good, thank you. Very good, thank you. Yourself?
Not bad at all, bro. Not bad at all. So we're heading straight to the first one, which is the Arsenal match pre-review. Going into this game, Arsenal was in very high confidence. The win against Tottenham was just something else. We smashed them out of the park. They got a hat-trick, and the lads were cooking. And of course, we had a game against Bayern Munich, which was like a real test of the team's character and ability. Being in mind that Bayern Munich was one of the teams that had the best records in Europe coming into the clash. So with Arsenal going to the game against Chelsea in Stamford Bridge, what was your level of confidence going into this, Dom?
I think both teams came into this right in good form. Their top two sides. I think Chelsea with 5 wins in 6 in the league. Arsenal with the same. So both sides on good form. Chelsea, I think for me, are a side that I can see similarities back to Arsenal from a couple of years ago. Young side, building the depth, building the quality, a very good 11 with a clear strategy and identity. So I never thought this was going to be an easy game. I felt this was always going to be a draw. And pre-game, I think a draw felt like a not the result you won, but a result you'll sort of take. I think that probably changed in the context of the game, but Chelsea's certainly a good side, and ideas that we're going to go and romp them, I felt were a little disrespectful to Chelsea and a little bit over-optimistic, particularly given they came off the back of a 3-0 Champions League win in the week, admittedly against 10 men. But we saw today how difficult it can be sometimes to play against 10 men, so it's not given your win. So, I think this was coming after a difficult week for Arsenal when you've got Bayern and Spurs and Chelsea all in the same week, albeit all in London, was going to be an ask. But, obviously, and we'll probably come on to it in a minute, you've got to be disappointed with the end result. But Chelsea's certainly a side to be respected.
Awesome. Thanks, Dom. So, Achike, going into this game, as Don rightly stated, Chelsea were also in very good form, winning Barcelona 3-0. And prior to that, their last loss came all the way, I think it was in September against Sunderland when they had a very late loss to the goal from Brian Brobry, 25th of October, But after that loss to Sunderland, they have actually been in very good form, getting very good results as well. And when Arsenal came to town, what was the tone for a Chelsea fan? Was there any feeling that they're going to lose today?
I mean, I don't know about Chelsea fans. I don't know why you're asking me what the tone was for Chelsea fans. But no, but I don't know if you remember last week, I think I predicted 1-1. I don't know if you can bring it out or 2-2. Because like he said, like Dom said, exactly right. I mean, Chelsea are a good side, young side. They have the way they play. They have depth and strength in midfield, which is where Arsenal have to be the strongest there. So it was always going to be a tough battle. And it's the bridge. We watch so much. I mean, there's so much football discourse online these days that, we forget that these are still human beings. Arsenal have played 2 tough games in the week before they came here today. Bayern Munich is not an easy game. Spurs were washed aside, but it was a game that was intense. You know what I mean? It's a North London derby. There's passion. There's a lot of that going in. And obviously, after the red card, it's one of those situations where, okay, we're a man up against a team we're better than. So the belief might leave a few Arsenal fans with disappointment that they didn't get the win. But with Chelsea scoring early in the second half, it could have gone either way. Playing against 10 men is never easy. I mean, some managers train during the week, drills against 10 men. Not every manager does. So it's sometimes the players are not used to it. Plus, the big elephant in the room. Chelsea, I mean, Arsenal started the game without their first choice centre backs. And they did well. They did very well. I don't think any other team in the league would have that and play as well as I think Arsenal played and be disappointed with a draw away at Chelsea. Like a friend of mine said, Man City conceded 2 goals to Leeds yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. And I always talk to them about that. This injury bug that's really plagued us now this season. Yes, you can really say that Andrea Beta did a good job in signing the 8 players that joined the team, but the toll of injuries continue to happen, and you can see that Arsenal went into this game without Trossard, without Gyökeres starting, without Gabriel, and all of a sudden Saliba also got injured. How much more can the players take? How much more can Arsenal depth be tested with the level of injury that keep coming week in, week out?
I think there's a few things here on this one. I think the first is if you look at Arsenal's injury list, it's actually around about average for the Premier League. What it has been is it's come in sort of clumps of areas. You've seen lots of attackers get injured before the international break. For instance, no Havertz, no Jesus, no Madueke, no Martinelli, no Gyökeres. So they sort of come in areas of the pitch. And I think what that does as well is you then get what I call the snowball effect, which I think plagued Arsenal last season, because you're then playing the other players more and more, and that builds up the fatigue, increasing the likelihood of injury. And a lot of Arsenal's early injuries came from impact injuries. They weren't necessarily sort of from fatigue or overrunning, and I think that has built up a little bit. And I think that is a factor there. I think if this continues through the season, then I think Arsenal will need to look at what is going on in terms of their training structure. I imagine that the coaches will take advice from sports scientists, and Arsenal, like many other top clubs, will be investing heavily in that area. And you'll have to look
Mhm.
at the advice there. But I think there is a lot of that. But I also think there is a wider question for the game. And this goes way beyond Arsenal, right? About the amount of games that are being played. I think there really is sort of an oversaturation of football in many ways. Much as we might like it as fans, it does dilute the product a bit with the amount of games they're playing because we're seeing a series of injuries. So I think, Arsenal have certainly been consistently high on the injury record, but they are when you look at the stats, they are in and around league average for injuries at any time. They've not been the only ones affected, which is why I make that final point. But it will be a concern for Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta will have to make sure he rotates the squad. I understand why he didn't rotate for Bayern Munich because it gives him that cushion. But I do, and you've got those attacking players coming back. I think we'd have seen more rotation had Martinelli, Odegaard, you know, being fit. I don't think Trossard starts that game, for instance, against Bayern Munich, and therefore that injury doesn't happen. But he does need to start being a little bit braver in these games. But I think there is the evidence there that he will. Nobody saw 10 changes against Brighton in the League Cup, which he's taking very seriously. Coming for example,
Yeah.
he has made some changes, but it's undoubtedly a concern. But Arsenal certainly have the squad for it. But I do think there is a little bit of an overblamed narrative as far as Arsenal are concerned when you look at the overall picture across the league.
Okay, that makes sense, though. So, Achike, looking at the stats of the game, obviously Arsenal had more possession with the numerical advantage, but Chelsea had more shots. Both teams had a similar amount of shots on target. Arsenal had 2 big chances to Chelsea one. Both missed 1 big chance each. Looking at the stats, they tend to seem like a draw was actually the best result. But Arsenal fans are kind of, mourning to a certain degree of how the game feels like a loss per se. For you being a Manchester United fan and being a neutral in this regard, what would you have said would be a fair result based on what you witnessed this evening?
I mean, so game state, especially as fans, we forget how game state affects the way games are going. I mean, if that game had ended with 11v11, Chelsea going ahead early in the second half, Arsenal getting a draw, and obviously pumping it towards the end of the game, I think it would feel less of a sad result as a draw. But
Yeah.
once it's down to 10 men, everyone is like, oh my God, it's 10 men. We should dominate them because, as a fan, you were wanting to win beforehand. And then the other team goes down to 10 men. Like the Man United game v Everton on Monday, right? That red card in the 11th minute or whatever
13th minute.
painted painted the narrative like it was now how useless are we couldn't beat 10 men. do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where like literally game state can change everything. And also because Caicedo is an important player as well. He's he and the Rice, it was meant to be the whole battle with Caicedo and Rice and all of that. And that's the thing. Fans, you know how fans, we're all fans. We get carried away with things. But as someone who, as a neutral, thought it'd be a draw at the beginning of the match, end of the match, it's a draw. Game state changes things a bit. And then with the shots, Chelsea were just taking shots from everywhere. Oh my God. Esteval was taking every form of shot he could. And then João Pedro, the big chances, it's one of those ones. And also Arsenal are not playing with a recognized center forward. Yes, Marino did a good job last season. We sometimes tend to forget what actually happened and just focus on how it ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
But within the play of the game, that was a fair result. A draw was a fair result.
100%, by the way. I don't know what you think, Anthony, but I'm an Arsenal fan. I felt a draw was a bit of a fair result, and you're exactly right on that. It feels like the loss because you've drawn a game that you so want to win, and the opposition have had 10 men for so much of it. But you're exactly right in terms of, look, Chelsea, the stats and the eye test show how well Chelsea played. To be fair to them, they created as many chances. They didn't sit back and try and defend their way out of this game.
Yeah.
Which you would expect them to sort of do in that scenario. And I think Chelsea deserve a lot of credit for that, by the way. But, that is why it does feel like a loss, even though Arsenal didn't actually lose the game.
Okay, fair enough. So let's just...
Also, I think Chelsea had an extra day rest, right?
They had one extra day's rest.
Yeah, there's so many things that come into it that we just forget in the heat of at the end of the game.
Yeah, true. So maybe one more comment before we leave this fixture. Miles Lewis Kelly, and this season we gave him a new contract, right? On the back of how well he did last season, and we are also confident to allow Zinchenko and Kylian Tierney leave the club. Calafiori was having injury issues, obviously, but this campaign, Calafiori has become very fit and has been very outstanding. But in the game
now you've done it, haven't you?
When the game that Lewis Kelly has come on, I know the Atletico game was quite a very good one. But when you think about what happened against Bayern Munich, where the ball just went behind him, and even when he came on as a sub in this game, there was that moment when he was very scared, as in when that way was just between him and Raya. I was waiting Raya to come out, but Raya didn't come out, and he just played the ball to the right hand side and to a transition play to Chelsea. As his form taking a serious dip, does he need a run of games to gain that confidence back? Because the way the team is set up right now, any chance you get, you have to take it. And he's not looking like someone that's taking the chances he's getting.
Look, is he playing as well as last season? Absolutely not. No. I think anyone that thinks he is certainly mistaken. I'm not necessarily shocked, right? I think there is an element of, particularly as a defender, you need a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of chemistry. He's come on against top opposition in terms of Chelsea and Bayern. Yep, thank you. I had a moment there. But we saw his quality last season, right? And we saw against Atletico how good he still is. I think he's just having a difficult moment, but it's not necessarily a surprise. I watch a lot of the NFL, and I was talking about second season syndrome, how often top players coming out of college go into their second season and struggle a little bit, but that doesn't mean that they don't come out at the other side. And I'm not surprised to see Miles Lewis Kelly having a dip. He's a very young player still. Players will go through, all players go through peaks and troughs in form, but they tend to be sort of more obvious and sort of bigger when they are a young player like Miles Lewis Kelly is. So no, do I think he's struggling? Yes, absolutely. I think it's clear to see that he's had a difficult week, but it's a difficult week against top opposition. I'd almost be tempted to start him in the midweek game against Brentford and show a little bit of confidence in him and get a little bit of an arm around him because, he is a good player. We saw it last year, and I've no doubts about him whatsoever. And Arsenal made the right decision to move on from Zinchenko and Tierney, in my view, because although Tierney stayed fit last season, he doesn't have the best track record of staying fit.
Yeah.
And Arsenal have moved on from that, and Miles Lewis-Skelly is in a position to be determined is the future for Arsenal. And Kieran Tierney and Zinchenko, played important roles in how we progressed as a side, but they are the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah. We basically move past them. Okay, Chike, any comments on MLS?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, so it's one of those things like kids, younger players, never as good as you think, and they're never as bad as you think. But we're in that time in football where everything is a story. Like while I was watching the game, I mean, I hadn't kept up to date with the news on Arsenal, obviously, for obvious reasons. But the commentator mentioned something like he was being linked to Chelsea or whatever because he wasn't getting playing time or whatever. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? A 19-year-old does not have. I mean, unless you're literally wonder kid. Like Calafiori's playing well. Arsenal are top of the league. They're top of the Champions League. He should just take his time because I think a lot of the pressure is obviously social media and all of this. So he might also be feeling like, oh my God, I lost my place. I need to make the England squad for the World Cup. No, you're 19, kid. Calm down. Calm down. Like football is doing my head in. Like he had a great season last season where he was needed, right? Now he's needed a bit less. He should take that opportunity not to be overly nervous. And just obviously Arteta has a role to play in putting him in the games that might bring out the confidence in it. But then that's the thing. If he plays against Brentford, has an amazing game, and Calafiori has an okay game in the next game, it'll be start Lewis-Skelly and bench Calafiori. Like there's so much noise. It's crazy. He's not as good as he was last season, but last season was phenomenal. Anyone expecting the same should calm down and let him be the 19-year-old footballer he is.
Awesome.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. Same with Ethan Wanyeri. It was, we saw it with other players coming through. Mainu at United. You're a United fan, right?
Yeah. I didn't want to mention Mainu. I didn't want to make it all about United, but it does my head in when they're like, "Oh my God, he wants to leave on loan." I'm like, dude, the manager has said that the person putting you on the bench is the club captain. Work hard to earn a place.
Yeah. And as you say, you're 18, 19. No one has a God-given right, but with that age, actually, 1,000 minutes with someone like Ethan Wanyeri, for instance, last season, really good minutes for someone of that age.
Really, he's what, 17 now or 18 now?
Yeah, and the funny thing was that even Wanyeri was even having fitness issues when he played that much minutes last season.
Yeah, your body's still growing. You're literally still growing.
Yeah, because his body couldn't really take it. Because I remember when Odegaard got injured in the international break against him for Norway, there was so much clamor from Arsenal fans for Wanyeri to play, right?
And we're like, dude, he's a kid.
But when Saka got injured and Sterling was really stinking up the place, Wanyeri got that extended run of games, but you could see that he could not cope. He was fatigued so quickly and stuff. So that's fair, understandable. So let's go to the next game. So our title rivals watch, and we'll start with Manchester City versus Leeds. Okay, so I'll start with you here, Dom. Did you expect this scoreline going into this game?
Result, sure. Scoreline, no. I mean, but that said, it raised some eyebrows, shall we say, pre-season when I said I felt that Arsenal would win the league, and I thought Liverpool, like many people, were going to be the next closest. Obviously, Liverpool are not there. But the reason I didn't say Manchester City, and this is what raised the eyebrows, was I didn't think defensively they were strong enough for a title challenge. And I felt that the midfield just missed a little bit, and therefore those two things were missing. What we saw there at the weekend with Manchester City is the defence, again, looking a little bit ropey, a little bit shambolic. Now, look, you can go into any game and concede 2 goals. It can happen, right? But they looked shaky at home against Leeds United, who, are going to be a relegation candidate, right? They might not go down, but they're going to be in and around there. And they look continually shaky throughout the game. And it's not the first time. So Leeds scoring 2 is a surprise, but it's not a surprise like, oh my God, how's this happened? Like, it's not a complete shock because, they have got those vulnerabilities about them. But it was gutting. Gutting to see Phil Foden score in the 91st minute, because that would have been, really, really good result for Arsenal. But Foden also, we were talking about Miles Lewis-Skelly a minute ago about the drop off from last season. Well, he had a major drop off last season. And everyone's going,
On
no,
play
he's
of the
finished.
season, right?
He's
Yeah.
finished. He's finished. Like, he's not finished. Don't be daft. Like, if he was Mo Salah at 33, 34, whatever Salah is, then you could go, has he now fallen off because the age is
Yeah.
not Foden. He's going into his prime. Like, he just had a poor season. Like, it happens.
Yeah, yeah. But then again, so let's stick to food and Achike. He won the PFA Player of the Season, so there were
Yeah.
some expectations of him. But going into last season, he had some challenges, so he lost his place in the team and stuff. But now that he has come up with these goals, how much of a boost is this to his confidence?
So here's the thing, right? I mean, I watched that game with such a mixed bag because I thought City would hammer Leeds, right? And so Foden was my FPL captain. So with the early goal, I was kind of happy. And then when Leeds were at 2-2, I was like, I'm torn because obviously I'm a Man United fan, so I hate Leeds and Man City equally. But I was like, 2-2 is perfect. Let them both drop points. And then Foden just came up with that winner. And, yeah, so I was good FPL wise, but I was like, oh, a draw would have been perfect. But yeah, so with Foden, yeah, it's one of those situations where, same thing. If you remember in his early years, there was all the clamor. Pep is holding him back. Pep is holding him back. He shouldn't go out on. Pep doesn't want him to go on loan, doesn't give him minutes. But Pep said, I want this team to be built around him, and I don't want him to go elsewhere and get bad habits. Now, funny enough, his drop off last season started from in my opinion, from all the confusion at the Euros. Where should he play? Should he play on the left? Is he a number 10? Palmer, Bellingham, all of that. There was a lot of noise about that. He had a bit of a niggle, a bit of an injury, and then, like I said, young players. I mean, not that he's that young. He's 25 now, I think, or is it whatever? So his last goal before this game came against United in the derby, the opening
Yeah,
goal. He didn't, kick up trees after that. So let's just see, because City are a very weird team currently. It's like if Haaland doesn't have a good game, then anything is up for grabs. And that's one of those situations that can be quite tricky. It's very noticeable because Haaland is a striker. So it's like if your striker doesn't score, you don't win games, which is crazy. But Pep is Pep, and City spend a lot of money. Reinders started the season well. He's had a drop off. Shirky had injury problems and all that. They have a good enough squad, but it's whether they can gel in this current incarnation. But like Dom said, the defense, I mean, they can be scored at any point. It's not confidence building at all.
yeah,
It's crazy, but I think they have a good run of fixtures, and this is that period where, with the big squad, games every 3 days, not having the strongest of opponents to face, City might just go on a run. And that's what I hate about them. They have such a big squad that they could literally go the next 5-6 games over Christmas. They've won all, and then that's 15 points out of 15. And then we'd be like, oh my God, they're title challenges.
yeah, yeah. So Dom, back to the title challenge. Obviously, Man City are perennial winners, and Arsenal fans are right to be scared about the threat they can pose. We had a scenario where 8 points ahead of them, they still cut us without. We had the scenario where to just 3 points, they still cut up. So now it's 5 points. How confident are you that we can go all the way this time? We're sitting behind us and chasing pack.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the point that's just been made is absolutely spot on that City are capable of a run and the fixtures are somewhat favourable for them. But I still remain confident. I think this is an Arsenal side that feels very different. Last season was the first time I predicted them to win the league, and I still think they could have won the league. In a slightly different scenario. City for me still feel another summer transfer window off building what they need, despite the fact that they have spent in 2025. I think it's the second most amount of money after
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
But they feel like they're in a rebuild, and you'll never write them off when they've got Pep Guardiola as their manager, and you've got Haaland and Foden, and Rodri. I know he's been injured a bit this season. You've got players of that sort of quality, but for me, Arsenal still are the strongest side. It does feel like Arsenal have got that something about them, and City do have that sort of slight soft underbelly, and that's why I remain confident. Anyone thinking that Arsenal are just going to go and win every single game and it's going to be really easy. No, they're going to have to battle the whole way. There are good sides that can compete. I think Chelsea are a little bit short. I think Manchester City are a little bit short, but they are going to still be, within 5 or so points. Liverpool are capable of recovery. And then you go down after that, you're looking at other sides, which I don't think are going to challenge for the league, but are good sides. And you can go a long way down. You go Brighton, you can go Manchester United, Tottenham, Aston Villa, Bournemouth have shown that they're capable. These are good sides where if you don't take them seriously, you can drop points. But they're
Yeah.
also good enough to be a side like Manchester City. Well, any side if they're not at their races. But Manchester City feel like they're starting like 5% in terms of quality behind Arsenal, and therefore both sides have a 10% drop off. Arsenal might well nick a point or 3 points, which City might lose, and I think over the course of the season that will give Arsenal the edge.
Okay, awesome. So actually, let's talk Leeds. If not for the game that they won against Espirito Santo in 20th of October, they would have been on a 7-match losing streak. In the last 7 games, they've actually lost 6, right? And currently they are 18th on the table. If they continue this form, do you think they are odds on to be relegated, or do you think they have what it takes to potentially survive the drop?
I mean, the issue with this is that sometimes when you're a side, you just have to look at who is worse than me. So obviously Wolves are worse than Leeds so
Mm-hmm.
far. So like Wolves are done. Burnley is a tricky one. It's a tricky one. And then the rest is like, where can they get some points? But yeah, I mean, the games Leeds have lost, not really many games there. I mean, to be fair, at the start of the season, are there many games I would have said Leeds had a sure banker to win? Not really. So when they lose, it's not as surprising. And when teams go on a bad run, it's like Sunderland. Sunderland's start was a relatively calm start, and they could get a couple of points where they now have the confidence, and people forget how important confidence is in football. Like if Sunderland didn't have the start they had, they would not have been in Bournemouth yesterday. That's just I would stake any amount of money on that. But when they've
Mm-hmm.
won games, they've played teams that are good teams and they've won, they can be 2-0 down to Bournemouth and still be going through.
Yeah.
It's,
Now
it's, that,
Leeds,
it's that belief, right? They've got to
yeah,
believe that they can come back.
and then they came back. I mean, they went ahead against Arsenal. Arsenal pulled it back. If they didn't have the results ahead of them, behind them, that they've done well, they would not be trying to attack Arsenal in the 90 whatever minute they equalize. That it adds up. Things like that add up. Now Leeds are on the opposite end in the sense that if they'd gotten a draw yesterday, it would have been so good for them. It would have been so good for them. But like football, no matter how well they played yesterday, how vulnerable City were, tomorrow morning they're going into training having lost,
Yeah.
and that is a downer. That is a downer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bad result lead to bad result, lead to bad results. Wolves are the same. Wolves don't even put up a fight. I mean, against Villa, they had a goal disallowed in the first half. That could have been so different. And then 0-0, and then we're gonna get to that game. But yeah, but like Leeds,
Yeah.
I think Leeds are down. Daniel Falcon, my man, is probably gonna get the sack before the January transfer window, so they can bring someone in. And it's I'm a Man United fan, so yes, I'm all for that.
I think you're right. He is gonna get sacked because I think there comes a point where because you're on that run, like you say, you just need a different voice in there sometimes, a
Yeah,
different sort of approach. It might not work, but you look at this run. They've had Tottenham, they beat Burnley, they lost to Burnley. Sorry, that's probably the one you'd look at as where they'd want to win.
yeah,
Beat West
Mm-hmm.
Ham, but then you look at that and you go Brighton Hove Albion, good side. Nottingham Forest,
good
not
side.
as not as bad as their league form suggests. And Sean Dyche
Yeah,
has know-how at this level. They've lost to
Mm-hmm.
Villa and then they lost to City. Like you look at that objectively and go, well, how many of them do we really expect them to pick
expect them
points
to
out of?
win. Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
probably you're going 4 points and they've got 3. But as you say, the impact of that is exactly as you've just said. Oh, we're going to lose a game. You concede that goal. You think, oh no, there's no way back. It impacts the training ground, and suddenly you go on that negative role rather than a positive one. Sunderland having the converse of that. But as you say, come March, Sunderland will have been through those bad runs, and they will be saved by those early points. But they are going to drop down the table. I'm
oh
convinced
for
of it.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just stick with you, Dom, here. Nottingham 12 points, West Ham 11 points, Leeds 10 points, Burnley 10. Sorry, Leeds 11 points, Burnley 10 points. Obviously, Wolves is just gone. Let's just forget about Wolves for right now. So you can see how these 4 teams are very locked on 1 point, right? And the next team ahead of them is Fulham with 17 points, which is just 5. Obviously, that's 2 games. How well or how crazy is this relegation dogfight going to be?
I actually think it's going to be done and dusted relatively early. Actually, to be honest, I
Hmm.
I genuinely think the bottom 3 are going to go down. I think West Ham will probably be the closest to it. I think Fulham and Everton, you worry about aspects of their squad and how deep it is, but they've got managers that know what they're doing and have got enough about them. I think the same is true of Forest, who I think are better than the two I just mentioned. So I think it's a bottom four, but I think West Ham are comfortably the best of the four, and I think they've got a manager. I think they've got the best manager. So I think they've got the best squad and the best manager of those four, and therefore the bottom three will go. And I think they will go with 2 or 3 games to go. I genuinely think that it could be probably more like 2 for the last one, but I think those 3 will go. I mean, Wolves, can we just give everyone the 3 points now and spare them, having to bother? But I think Rob Edwards will improve them, obviously, but there's no way he's making up 9 points in
Yeah.
2/3 of the season. I know that sounds daft, but 9 points at the bottom is a lot more than 9 point gap at the top.
I agree. Yeah, so we have a couple of folks in the chat. True Gunner, always good to have you on the show. And he also had a quick comment here. He said he's feeling very disappointed. His 10 men, Chelsea, and the overall performance was poor. Only Rice stood out for him. Sorry to take us back, but I think the other players that did well, not just Rice. I think the two defenders, Hincapié and Mosquera, under the circumstances, did very well, in addition to Rice. Yes, a couple of folks are very disappointing, like Eze. I think Timber did very well as well. Then Merino. So, yeah, I understand the sentiment, but hey, we've spoken about Arsenal and Chelsea at length. So, we're going to move on from that.
Just very quickly, could I just say, hey, Josh, thanks for popping in too. But I think, as I said earlier, the sentiment is understandable given the context of the game.
Yeah,
But I think in the grand scheme of things, it will not prove as bad a result as it feels right now.
makes sense. Okay, so let's go to the other title rival. The rot was finally over.
What, you mean West Ham?
So, Chike, I was listening to the commentator, and he said that they had lost 9 in their last 12.
Yep.
That starts, I know they have been losing games and whatnot, but I'm not sure I really paid that much attention to the amount of games they lost. Now, my question goes this way. Should West Ham have done better, knowing fully well that Liverpool was a team that everybody was actually getting at and they could actually get results from? Why did it work out for them this evening?
I mean, so that was the game. I was watching that game, yeah, and it was just like Liverpool is such a. I mean, it gives me joy purely, it gives me so much joy to watch them struggling, right? But it's like a team that doesn't understand itself. And today they seem to have understood themselves a little bit more. And it's not because Salah didn't play. You can say what you want. He might not be having the greatest season. His numbers are not the worst. But I think people are also looking at it from the drop off from last season. But that happened. But West Ham didn't offer much. Like when they were on the counter, their decision making was just a little bit off. And I didn't get it. I mean, Paqueta, oh my God. If you didn't believe the rumors about the thing he was nearly suspended for, I'm a lawyer, so I'm just going to keep my, but whoa. Anyway,
and then sense, man.
Even like Liverpool's goals were not the greatest goals. They were from defensive errors. I mean, the second one was when the keeper came out and then Slob was like, who's a good player, came out and got it. And it's just like, it was a result. And sometimes the result is the most important thing. Liverpool have gotten a win. They've kept a clean sheet. Whoa, Salah's got a whole weekend rest where the team didn't lose. The noise is going to be a bit lower. Who do they have on Wednesday? But
Sunderland home.
Sunderland and Anfield. Salah could get a hat trick there, and it will just change the narrative a bit. But that run they were on was one of the sweetest things I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
in my lifetime.
So dumb. Obviously, they've had such a bad run, but the fixtures that they have coming forward or going forward look tasty. If you play.
Sorry, wait. Can I just say one more thing? Sorry. In their run of losses, right? In their run of losses, it was quite interesting. Wait, hold on. Let me pull it up because I was bantering with someone, and then it ended up being. I actually saw that it was quite interesting, right? In all those games they lost, right?
Yeah.
So they played Real Madrid. Actually, they beat Real Madrid. They beat Aston Villa. Lost to Frankfurt, lost to United, lost to Chelsea. a lot of those teams were like European Cup winning teams. These are top teams. It wasn't the worst result ever. You got like World Club champions in there. You've got multiple European Cup winners in there. You've got UEFA Cup winners in there. Galatasaray. They shouldn't have felt as bad as they did. They were losing.
Yeah. They even lost the FA
Nottingham
Cup.
Forest.
They even lost the FA Cup winners.
FA Cup winners, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, two-time Champions League winners, Nottingham Forest, PSV Eindhoven, European Cup winning PSV Eindhoven. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're just taking the piss, man.
It started out as a bit of banter, but those are top clubs.
Yeah, I agree with you. So
they were indeed top clubs, no longer. I mean, but you look at that, like Crystal Palace are a decent side, is what I was talking about earlier. But you can, if you're not at your best, lose these games. Yeah. But other than that, you're really only looking at Chelsea. I mean, I think United are okay, but you're disappointed losing that one at home, right? But I don't think their run of games was particularly egregious when you look at the nine they lost. But it certainly is very winnable, and I think the thing with Liverpool, and it's why I put Arsenal as title rivals. No one, by the way, I'm not saying I predicted Liverpool collapsing to like 8th in the table. At one point they went 11th, 12th. Like, no, I didn't say that. Like, no one said that. But I didn't like their balance. I spoke in the summer about their sexy window and how computer gamery it was, and I couldn't understand how this system fitted together. And I still have those doubts about how they fit this together. I heard I'll loosely call him a pundit, but Jamie O'Hara was saying in the week that Arsenal lost. Liverpool should go through at the back, and I don't think he's wrong from that point of view. That does fit the personnel they have. The problem is they've only got 3 centre backs. I mean, and that's what I didn't like. They don't have a proper 6, and the team just looks unbalanced. It really does. Salah, just looks out of form, but that'll be the headline. Oh, Liverpool dropped Salah. It's the end for Salah. No, look, Salah, is he going to hit the heights of last season again? Probably not. He wasn't that brilliant down the stretch, nor with Liverpool. But this was a much needed win for Liverpool, and I really harken this back. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan, you harken it back to Arsenal results quite a lot, but back to Arsenal winning. I think it was against Burnley after that 3-match losing start where they had City, Chelsea, I think it was, and Brentford's first Premier League season. They lost all 3, and they beat Burnley 1-0 after the international break.
No, it was Norwich.
I thought it was Burnley, but either way,
the one that Beleno lost his place to Ramsdale,
yeah, and it was we won it. Didn't play well, 1-1-0. Whether it was Burnley or Norwich, I thought it was Burnley, but it doesn't matter. I hearken this to this. This is the game Liverpool would have expected to win, but West Ham will have come into this believing they could win it. Also desperate for the 3 points themselves. But Liverpool, as you just said there, kept the clean sheet, and that's really what mattered. They got Isak gets his first goal.
Yep.
Wirtz actually played reasonably well. Suddenly all those basics and that confidence they gained from that, despite the fact it wasn't a great performance, will have helped them. Do I think it's too late for a title charge? Probably, because I just don't like the balance of that side. But yeah, it's a win they really, really, really needed, right? To use the Manchester United example, it's I think it was Nottingham Forest. Ferguson won that 3rd round replay back in 1990.
Mark Robbins, my man.
Mark Robbins, keeps it. They get the win. They go through. I think they won the trophy. I think that year, and he keeps his job. Slot. While there was no massive talk about him losing job, there must have been conversations going on about Liverpool about let's start putting together a shortlist. They must have reached that stage. How can you not? You wouldn't expect relegation sides to be losing 9 out of 12, let alone Liverpool. They must have been thinking about that, and suddenly that just calms that speculation, calms that narrative down. This is a deserved narrative. There are narratives where I think, what the hell? But this is one that has gone on for some time, but it will end that for a little bit, But they're going to have to follow it up with Sunderland, or else the narrative comes straight back.
Yeah, true. So let's quickly talk about West Ham. Okay,
wait, just one thing on Liverpool. It's on what Dom said, and it's so interesting because I was having this exact conversation with someone about what formation would fit Liverpool.
Was it Jamie O'Hara?
They have. No, it wasn't. And it's so interesting though, because I was thinking the same in the sense that I mean, I'm not one to advise Liverpool. I don't want them to do well, but I like to think about, like I like to say in any argument, if you can argue for both sides, then you really know what you're talking about. A back three of Konate, Van Dijk, and Robertson. Robertson plays that for Scotland sometimes, with Tierney being outside or the other way round. And then
They switch, don't they, in game?
Yeah, you've got Kirkes, yeah. You've got Frimpong, who actually is a wing back. He's not a fullback.
Yeah.
You've got McAllister, and you've got, or even if Frimpong is injured, even Slobbersley has shown that he has the engine to be a wing back on the right. Yeah,
Curtis
then
Jones even.
Curtis Jones, you've got McAllister and Gravenberg.
The key question now, Chiki, as you continue, is who's going to lose his place in the team for that try?
Wait, let me give you my lineup, yeah, and then do that. Then you've got Salah and Verts behind the striker, right? So the people who are losing out are Gapo and, well, if it's Isak, then Ekitike is losing out. If it's Ekitike, then it's Isak losing out, right? Yeah.
No, but you still have the issue of Gravenberg and McAllister and Szoboszlai. It's not complete.
No, that's what I'm saying. Slobberslai, that's what I'm saying. You could have Slobberslai and Verts will be fighting for the other role next to Salah. But currently, Frimpong is injured. Bradley's not trusted. So Slobberslai could be the wing back. I mean, they have so much to play around with. And I guess it's the narrative that, Man United is the biggest story, because once Man United have a problem, the formation. Liverpool could tweak something around. But anyway, that's enough talking about positives for Liverpool. Long may their run continue.
Okay, so let's talk about West Ham real quick. And you could see that under Potter, they were certainly going to the trenches. They were going to be relegated. Like, the form was horrible. But Nuno came on, obviously lost the game to Leeds, but he won Newcastle, won Burnley, had a very respectable draw with Bournemouth before losing to Liverpool. Now he has Man United, Brighton, and Aston Villa and Man City next. How many points do you think he can get in those 4 games?
Well, 3 points against Manchester United, obviously.
I was waiting for that.
No, I mean, look, West Ham are going to struggle, right? And they were right to sack Potter. But you look at these, these next few games, and they got Man City after that, by the way. I mean, you're doing well to get 3 out of 12, which probably has you back in the relegation zone, because you'd think Leeds would get the points somewhere. But I still think, it's not about 4 games. It's going to be about the remaining 25 games. For me, West Ham will just about have enough. They can score goals, and I think Nuno will get them better defensively. So I think they will survive, but, they could very easily lose the next 4 games. But you look at that and go, okay, your 5-game losing run there is Liverpool, Manchester United, Brighton, Villa, Manchester City. That's a horror run of games.
Yeah.
Arsenal are top of the league. Arsenal get those 5 games. No one thinks they're getting 15 points. Context and perspective is really important there. But of course, we all know what will happen come December the 20th. Is Nuno going to lose his job? Nuno shouldn't lose his job at West Ham. Right, he really should. And also, I think what has to be remembered with West Ham, they had a horror summer window, by the way. Absolute horror. You don't bring in someone like Potter and then give him a window like that. I'm sorry, you don't. Do I think Potter did a really good? Look, he did a really good job at Brighton. Do I think he should have ever got the Chelsea job? I understand why he did, but that was a leap, and I never thought he kind of justified it. I think he had to do almost a Thomas Frank and something in between, right, to Spurs, and he's struggling a little bit there. But I don't think Potter is the best manager in the world, but I don't think he's as bad as people think he is either, because of his recent thing. But you don't, as you say, look, he can be tactically flexible, but you don't give him a window like that when he's looking for, technical players that he can, bugger the system. That doesn't matter to him, but players that he can work with, and he'll make the system work for them. But you just don't. He wants to play football. He doesn't want to sort of play this sort of not regressive, but this pragmatic approach, which is basically what West Ham delivered him.
Yeah. So speaking of Potter, actually, was Moyes justified not to have his contract renewed, despite delivering the conference?
We've had this conversation. I think West Ham fans acted like the most entitled people in football. Like, it was ridiculous. I was oh my god, and I have a soft spot for Moyes, because
I do too.
I thought, it was ridiculous. Like, okay, I'm not one to tell anybody how to support their club or what to believe their club can achieve, right? But I think sometimes it's disrespectful when you're so used to success. Like, I support the club that is going through this the most. the late Patrick Barclay, the writer for The Guardian, yeah, he had a quote which I repeat in all my Man United forums. I've been repeating for years. He quoted it, what, 2011? Your football team does not owe you success. It just owes you entertainment and trying their best. And West Ham got to a point where you have a manager who gives you your first trophy in what, 40 odd years.
Your first major trophy, anyway. They won a
Yeah,
championship. But
yeah, yeah. First major trophy in 40 odd years. They came what? They came sixth in that period. They came sixth and eighth or something. I mean,
yeah,
positions you haven't been coming regularly, and then you get bored of the style of football. Like, what do you? I mean, it's crazy. He was so treated badly. I mean, some people would have said win the trophy and leave, but people have egos. If you leave, you're not getting the payoff. An extra year of work. There's all sorts of things that come into it. I mean, people say the same with Ange Postecoglou. If he knew that Daniel Levy had that in mind, if he just won that European trophy, he should just said, you know what, I'm good, guys. It's all good. I'm done. Let's go. But no. But anyway, sorry, my long-winded answer to your question is like, no, West Ham were not justified in not renewing his contract, and he's gone to Everton, and he's going to do well there.
Okay, so let's have a quick roundup of the other fixtures. And we'll start with Huey here. You got Thiago, 11 goals in 13 games. Is it like this season's Chris Wood?
I mean, his goal scoring record from open play, as in non-penalty, by the way, is superior to Ivan Toney. Just saying, it is. But yeah, I mean, look, Brentford surprising everyone by being 10th. I never thought they were going down. I don't think this is a surprise they've won this one, but this lad is, firing on the goals. At some point, I think they'll dry up because I don't think he's going to turn into a worldie, but you never know. And maybe he gets a big move in a couple of years' time if he keeps it up. But, Brentford, I'm really pleased for them because I think they're a really well-run club. Big call promoting a set-piece coach to the manager.
Yeah.
Arteta needs to watch out. Jover's taking his job, but look, this result was no surprise. I didn't see the game. I've got better things to do. No offense to watch Brentford Burnley, but this isn't a shock result. And I'm genuinely really pleased for Brentford.
Awesome. So Achike, let's talk Burnley real quick.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have really had a couple of bad run of results, and I think, in my honest opinion, they're going to be the second team that's going to go down with Wolves. Do you think they have anything what it takes to stay in the league?
I mean, it's a tricky one because at the start of the season, I thought I was quite intrigued by what they did in the transfer window. I mean, they got that midfielder on loan from wherever it was.
Yeah,
and he was quality last season for Benfica. He was like in the Portuguese league team of the season. I mean, yes, it's the Portuguese league, but I thought he was a good player, and I thought when you have a solid midfield, you might do better. But it's just gotten downhill, and maybe no recognized striker. What they would do for Chris Wood now, what they would do for a Chris Wood that could put it in the back of the net, and I think it's one of those things where they came up with defensive solidity, but that was defensive solidity in the Championship. It's the Premier League. It's tougher. The strikers are tougher. The forwards, I'm sad for. I think they're down. I don't know. There's not much more to say about it. I think they're down.
Yeah, same here, man. So let's go to the next fixture. Down. Wow, this was quite a turnaround. Sunderland have been one of the surprise packages of the Premier League this season. But Bournemouth is actually a team that has been playing very well as well. So to see Bournemouth score 2 goals and lose 3-2, what is your take on their defensive frailties in the game?
Well, no cherry on the top for Bournemouth, was there? But I mean, look, Bournemouth started the season very well too, and Sunderland, sort of feel a little bit like this season's Nottingham Forest, but I don't think it'll go so deep. You see a team do this every year. I mean, I go way back to Ipswich, their first season in the Premier League. They finished
Marcus
third.
Stewart.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's teams that do this every season. Will surprise. They're not always a promoted side, but it's not the first time, as I allude to. But they're as we were talking about earlier, momentum is huge, and Sunderland have it right now, and they have that confidence. In terms of Bournemouth's defensive frailties, 100% it is there. They have that. They do have that. But also, you have to look and go, well, they lost their goalkeeper. He went back on loan to Chelsea and ended up at Arsenal. They lost their left back, Kirkes. They lost their centre back.
It's
I
a
think they,
banging.
who went to Bayern Munich. Hoyson. I think they lost one of their other defenders as well. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
Zabangi and Hoisin
Yeah,
with the first choice pairing.
that is
PSG,
four out.
yeah,
That's four out
yeah,
of your back five gone.
five,
Is
yep.
it any shock that they're struggling to rebuild that, because that's a bloody decent back line you're trying to replace when you're, with all due respect, when you're Bournemouth. It's not like Manchester City are going out and go, oh, we need a new goalkeeper and 3 new defenders. That people are queuing up. There will be obviously people very interested in Bournemouth, very well run club, very good manager, Premier League, so decent money and a good side. But it's not to the same level as, say, Manchester City, and we wouldn't expect Manchester City to cope with that. So why would we expect Bournemouth? So I think there is that issue for them, but it's not a surprise issue. And I think Bournemouth deserve, and their manager deserves, some time and some respect, because actually, they're 11th in the table, 19 points from 13. Given they lost so many good players in the summer, I think that is deserving of respect despite this result.
Yeah, awesome. Actually, any thoughts on that?
No, it's same. He said it all. I mean, Bournemouth, and then Semenyo, their best player, was just coming back. This was his first start in a while since the international break. He had a bit of a knock. So these results, but like I said, the confidence of Sunderland, man, it's just beautiful to see, man. It was just like, because when I was watching it on the multi-screen, what they call it, what's the goal thing that they show all the goals at the same time? Goal rush, yeah. And then when they went 2-0 up, and then the commentator was like, Bournemouth were down 2-0 last week and came back to 2-2. Can it happen? The reverse happened here. And I was like, the goals kept coming in. I was like, Sunderland, bloody hell, man. Bloody hell. And Sunderland have the confidence. Bournemouth, lack of confidence, losing a couple of players. I mean, it's one of those things. He's like, Dom hit it on the head. If any other team had this loss of players, we wouldn't be expecting them to be they started well. And Eric Semenyo was so good. And whoever won this game was going to be in the top 4 as of yesterday. So they're where they should be, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so and Dom, one quick question for you. How impressed have you been with Sunderland's recruitment this summer, the players they've had? And how much of an impact will it be when AFCON starts?
When AFCON starts, it's going to have a huge impact, right? No question about that. But their recruitment's been excellent this summer. The thing I will take issue with, I've heard it several times, this should be the blueprint for every side coming up. Well, I don't think it should be. They've recruited very well and they've hit the ground running, and a lot of the players have worked, and full credit to them. But we've also seen sides do the same thing and it not work. Hello, Liverpool, I'm looking at you. But the idea, and going back to sort of sides coming up, if you spend big money like Sunderland did and it doesn't work, you're in a world of trouble going forward. So I think really well done to Sunderland. I think Granit Xhaka has been hugely important to that. I imagine in the dressing room, on the pitch, and his performance, he knits things together. Who would have thought that a few years back when he's walking off the pitch and throwing the armband to the floor and that sort of thing, and when he was at Arsenal. But he's a rehabilitated player, no doubt, and he rehabilitated himself at Arsenal and then Leverkusen, and now doing brilliant at Sunderland. But full credit to them, really, really well done. But for the idea that this is the blueprint for everyone, it's not, because it's too big a gamble for too many sides.
Yeah, fair enough. So let's talk about the next fixture, which was a fixture that I did not expect. Everton has been one team that has been doing very well, since they moved into the Hugh Dickinson Stadium. And obviously, under Moyes, they've had like a great run of results. But to see them get destroyed by Liverpool, by Newcastle, the Newcastle team has had their own struggles as well. And Chike, what was your honest take of the game itself?
This game in my mind, I thought it would be a low scoring game. When I looked at what happened during the week, I thought it was good, and then the goals just kept coming in, and it was mistake after mistake, and it was one of those weird ones. We have these games every couple of weeks where everything just works right for one team, and everything just goes badly for the other. And this was just one of those games. I mean, Lewis Miley looking all world class, man. I mean, Tonali on the bench and Newcastle scoring 4 goals. What's his name? Voldemort himself lobbing the keeper.
Yeah.
It was just one of those games where the goals as they were coming in, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah. I thought my phone was broken.
Yeah, I was like, is this from a few years ago? What is happening?
Yeah, especially when you think of the fact that Everton just came off a very important win against Man United.
You thought they'd be galvanized and it'd be like, yeah, let's go. We can. Oh, man.
Yeah. Okay,
I mean, that is a
that's
shock, right? Because you
mhm.
had the bust up on the pitch, and look, that's a bust up on the pitch. That would have been sorted. Normally, you don't see it on the pitch. You normally see it on the training ground, but it
Yeah.
happens a lot,
Yeah,
right? You'd have thought they'd have been galvanised, but they looked. Well, I didn't see the game, but a friend of mine, a big Everton fan, he said they looked so leggy. It looked like they had
Yeah.
nothing left from Monday, and I
true,
think that
true.
probably would have been a factor in that. I mean, I mean, Everton aren't look, they're going to be a bottom 5, 6, 7 side. That's where they are. I think they got a good manager, good side, but this is a
They need to
bit of a
score goals. They need a
they
striker.
struggle. They need a striker in, no question.
Yeah, yeah. The
But
strikers are real crap, man.
yeah, they absolutely. But this isn't. This is a little. This is a bit of a freak result from their perspective. Not. No, I wouldn't be panicking if I was an Everton fan because we lost this one 4-1.
Oh, okay, fair
Sure.
enough, fair enough. Okay, so let's go to the next fixture, talk about it. And this was,
Yeah.
oh my god, how Spursy can be? Oh my god.
Well, I've covered that game next.
No, no,
Now
no.
I'm laughing for real.
We need to talk about Vicario. Like, what the bloody hell was that? There was the throw in he could just play that ball into. Why did he play that ball back into play? My God, Tottenham is just shocking, man. Like, I like Thomas Frank as a coach. I think he did an
You can't like him
amazing
anymore,
job.
man. You can't like him anymore. Don't be one of those
Yeah,
people.
yeah. I think
He's
like
Tottenham
he's just
manager now. It's
yeah,
all gone.
he's terrible right now, man. And that's what I enjoy seeing sports so far. This was a travesty. Like,
He's had
oh
a
my
good
God.
week, hasn't he?
Lost to
Thomas Frank has
PSG,
had a great
lost to
week.
Arsenal.
Yeah, brilliant.
I mean, he's played in the Champions League. He's managed in the Champions League this week. Yeah, he wasn't doing
Oh,
that before.
yeah.
That is true.
Awesome,
It's
awesome,
crazy.
awesome. But let's talk Fulham.
Oh no,
Chukwueze.
please no.
It-
Can we go down to Spurs?
yeah. But we want to think about it. Is it high time he gets a run out in the team? Achike,
Who gets a run out in the team?
Samu, Chukwueze.
Chukwueze. Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, Fulham are a weird team. Like every time I watch them, somebody plays really well, and then the next time I watch him, that player doesn't play really well. It's like peaks and troughs. So I need to watch him a lot more because I don't know because like some games I watch him, he Iwobi's looking fantastic. He's doing all this. Other games he's like so average. Some games Smith Rowe, Harry Wilson. I like Harry Wilson personally. I mean, apart from
Josh King.
His Liverpool, yeah, Josh King at the start of the season against Chelsea, he was playing so well. Sometimes, I mean, Jimenez can be unplayable. Muniz, remember, Muniz was, it's just such a weird team. Such a Saka Lukic. Sometimes he looks like the new Polinia. Sometimes he just looks like a yellow card attracting machine, which would be the new Polinia as well, to be fair. But like, it's just, yeah, they're such a weird team. Like, I can't remember what I predicted for this game, but like when for Fulham to score that 2 goals that early on, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah,
What is
true,
going
true.
on? I mean, yeah, Chukwueze should get a run. It's a Christmas period. People always forget December comes. Lots of players are going to get runs and teams and have a chance to show. If you have a good enough fixture list, some players. I mean, I remember the old days. This might date myself a bit. The Christmas run where like Mourinho unleashed Joko, and they were like, "Oh my God, what is Joko was dropping 9 out of 10s every game over the Christmas break." That could happen to any of these players. Chukwueze, it could be, it could happen to Kevin, their player with, Brazilians with one name. It's always the funniest.
Yeah,
Especially
true.
when they're called Kevin.
1 second.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I mean, just really quickly, actually, sorry, just to go back to those two. I mean, Fulham are an odd side. He's absolutely right.
Mhm.
Very difficult to sort of work out what they're going to do from week to week, and both in terms of their player. And it's an odd squad, but I mean, Marco Silva, I think, is doing a really good job there. And just on Tottenham, in all seriousness, look, Vicario doesn't look like a top Premier League goalkeeper to me,
No,
and
he
never
doesn't
really
actually.
has. But I think Thomas Frank needs time at Spurs. He's very clearly trying to sort of make them slightly more pragmatic. Went far too pragmatic against Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
Went a little bit too much the other way against Paris Saint-Germain because
Mm-hmm.
of the backlash. And I think he is
Yeah.
struggling a little bit with the expectations that come when you're at a bigger club.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Tottenham, I mean, hopefully they will show him zero patience because I actually think he's a good manager. And I think if he's given time, I don't think he gets Tottenham into winning the league or anything like that. But I think he can build them into a Europa League, Champions League sort of qualifying team consistently. Build a really good base. I think they probably need another manager to take him beyond. beyond that stage. But he can really stabilise and give them a base that I just think they've lacked after the sort of odd management choices they've made in recent years. I think he can stabilise that club, but hopefully they won't give him any time to do it, and they'll get him out, because I do think he's a good manager. But Tottenham are going to get results like this because the squad just doesn't work. It's sort of very early days of Arteta to me feel about them.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Terrible. So now let's go to the next fixture. I'm sure, I think Achike will really love this. Fernandez 2 assists. This was a game I did not expect. This was a game I did not expect Manchester United to win, because Crystal Palace is one team that has shown very, very good form in their home ground. So Achike, going into this game, were you confident of even getting a draw?
I told you last week, I knew we were going to win, because my one reason was Thursday night. Palace played on Thursday night, away game in France and Strasbourg, and they like to play the same squad all the time.
Well, they don't have much choice. They don't have depth.
They don't have depth. Yeah, because and they're lucky. They've been lucky with injuries, and that's a good thing. I mean, it could be their training regime, it could be whatever it is. But it was one of those games where I remember I made the prediction before the Everton game. Mm-hmm. Now, after the Everton game, I thought with all the noise around it, it might bring the players down a bit. I don't know, you might show me at the end of the stream.
Yeah, I'll show you guys
3-2. I think I said 3-2. Mm-hmm. I think I'm not sure, but I knew it. I thought there'd just be a goal in it, kind of thing. I thought Cunha would be back. So when I saw the lineup and Cunha wasn't back, I was like, oh, this could be a draw here. And then when they got the penalty, I was like, oh man. But I mean, it was one of those games where Palace were going to get leggy, which they did get leggy, because they had a European game on Thursday. Mm-hmm. And the set plays, I was impressed with the set plays. Happy for Xerxes to get a goal. He's not a number 9. He's a number 10, number 8. Well,
like Firmino.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But then he's obviously low in confidence, so the ball never sticks to him. He always wants to pass it on to someone else. Maybe it's a shirk responsibility, because some people are passing it on to improve the play, but Xerxes passes it on sometimes to shirk responsibility. But then when we were 2-1 up, he started playing like a number 9.5. He was getting those silky touches, a bit more confidence. I'm a huge Mason Mount fan. Whenever I see him in the starting lineup, I think Man United are going to win, because he's a manager's dream. He's going to press, he's going to harass. He didn't have the best of games till his goal, which I don't know if you've seen the replay. He looked surprised that Bruno did the quick free kick, and I was like, if that wasn't a planned move, it worked perfectly. And then Euro is a player I like, but he was being bullied. I mean, Mateta's a handful anyway, so you would expect it. He was being bullied. I mean, all in all, it was the result I expected. But when I saw the starting lineup, and after the Everton game, I was less confident. But yeah, I mean, I had it down as one of the games we would win, and thankfully we did. Bruno started the game in an interesting way. I mean, I love Bruno Fernandes. He's been like my phone wallpaper for ages. And this role the manager wants him to play in, I think if he gets his head into that being his new role, I think he can play fantastically. But sometimes he plays like he doesn't want to be in that role. That's one of the problems I see in our team. Casemiro should not be playing 90 minutes. When he's on the pitch to start the game, I'm okay with it. But then Ugarte and Mino haven't covered themselves in glory. We don't have the depth. It's a tricky time. Any win we get, I'm happy with it. Even though this is in the run of games where I thought we wouldn't lose a game for a while. So the Everton one really hurt me. I don't know if you remember, after the Liverpool game, I thought for the next 7 games, we wouldn't have a loss in there. And then the Everton game caused that. But, fingers crossed. Bring West Ham on Wednesday.
In fairness to Ruben Amorim, he just doesn't want that guy to get his hair cut.
Yeah, probably like me as well. Yeah.
I mean, like you though. I mean, look, Palace are a good side. Palace are going to massively run out of steam second half of the season. The squad's not there. It's part of Forest's problem, right? Is that they've not got the squad for it. That's not to disrespect them. They've not been in Europe before. You don't build a squad for that.
Yeah.
So no surprise.
And also because they didn't know what they'd be in. So I think it affected the budgets as well. They didn't know if it'd be Europa or Conference, and they might have made some moves early in the season.
But this doesn't surprise me, this result, because United were never as bad as they were last season. No question. So this result doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to have seen 3 points for Palace, but this result doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Actually,
Because I was
actually, can
also
I ask a question about United real quick? What did you make of their summer
Mhm.
business? Because you went heavy in attack, right, with Shesko and Mbermo and Cunha, but didn't really
That's
do anything.
it's crazy. It's crazy
But
because I
didn't
think it's
really
one of
do
those
anything.
situations where they did those deals because those deals were there to be done, and goal scoring was our problem last year. You
I'm
know,
not
when
sure
you've
it
got
was.
Hoyland. No, no, no. Goal scoring. I mean, no, goal scoring was our main problem last year. Because the thing
Well,
is,
it was.
people
It
forget
was.
that. Look, people forget that, right? From like February, we were focusing on the Europa League. If you look at the teams that started the Europa League games and the teams that started the Premier League games, you're like, what is he doing, mate? And in the Europa League, we were scoring 4-0, 3-0 to Atletico Bilbao because our game was more suited towards European
Yeah,
teams.
yeah, definitely.
Now he was like, okay, like I mean, the anecdotal talk was somebody in our recruitment was like, okay, guys, we were shit scoring goals last season. Who are the players that overperformed their XG the most in the league? And we got two of them right off the bat. We got both of them, Cunha and Mbuemo. And then books had to be balanced, but not getting a midfielder, a body in midfield, was a big oversight in my opinion. It
I,
was
I
a
I
big
mean,
oversight.
I think you're right. I mean, I go back to Arteta and people sort of going about how long it takes to build a squad. I think United are in the same bit because almost everything was broken, right?
Yep.
You're
yeah.
right. Goal scoring was a problem, but yet you couldn't defend. You had a goalkeeper that thought he was Superman, but really,
Oh my god.
re, re- you know, really was
I,
really Ant
oh, but
Man.
I really miss Onana though.
Of course you
Yeah,
do. Of
I
course you
miss
miss him.
Onana.
Of course you miss him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he thinks
everyone except Man United misses him.
he thinks he's Batman. He's really Ant Man.
Oh.
You know, just it needed fixing in so many positions. And I think you had two ways about it, didn't you? You either go after one area of the side really heavily, really focus on it, or you
Yeah.
sort of try and build. I'm going to try and put one in midfield and one in defence, one in attack. It doesn't really
Mm.
fix any of them, but improves all three a little bit. So I thought it was a really interesting sort of case study. I spoke about Liverpool earlier, how I didn't like their balance. I think you can say the same about United, but I think
Yeah.
had they gone the other way and gone three in defence or 1-1 and one,
Yeah,
I think you
or just in
still
the midfield.
you
Yeah,
s-
because I
yeah
mean,
you
if we had started this season with Hoyland as our starting striker, people would have thought we were mad.
yeah
Now, I don't think Hoyland is as bad as last season was. He's a young
no
player. He's a young player. He had so much pressure on him because his first season. I mean, Liam Delap got a move to Chelsea on a worse first season than Haaland had in Man United. Because
yeah
people forgot his numbers. He had what 18 goals in all competitions. Yeah, granted, 6 in the Champions League, 2 in the FA Cup, 10 league. Your first season as a 20-year-old in the Premier League, 10 league goals, 6 in the Champions League, no, 5 in the Champions League, and like 3 in the FA Cup. That's not a bad return. But because it's United, then the second season stunk so badly. It's like the Lewis Kelly thing we were saying earlier. The second season was so bad, but then it was in a bad team,
yes
and yeah, it's one of like, and then obviously with the pressure of United, like they're saying, Mano wants to go on loan because he's not starting games. I'm like, you should calm down. The manager literally said that the club captain is keeping you out of the team. You work hard, you put your head down, you work hard, and you try to get the games you can. And then obviously the Grimsby Town loss colored everything so negatively. Oh my god, the Grimsby
God, that
Town
was
loss,
funny though.
because if we still had like
Yeah.
some League Cup games, players would get more games. I mean, the last game was Xerxes' first start in months. Lisandro
Yeah.
Martinez is just coming back. Ugarte has been off form. His manager at Sporting told him, "Bro, you're not the player you were at Sporting. I don't know what's happened to you, but you're not the player you were." That's an indictment.
Yeah, I agree. But just one final thing on Crystal Palace. They can't cope. Like the fixtures are coming thick and fast. Especially in December where they're going to have games like every 2 days. And if you look at what they do in the Conference League, it's basically the entire same squad.
Just one player
How did
out
they get
and
to
then
that
45
point?
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did they get to that point where they have zero depth in their team?
How do you get to that point?
By not
Well, I mean,
recruiting.
well, yeah. But no, I mean, but you got to look at Crystal Palace, right? There's two things here. One, as Akike said earlier, you've got the uncertainty about which squad you're
Competition
going.
you're in.
Competition.
That affects your finances. But secondly, Palace aren't a rich side, so they're not. It's not like they've been building towards, Europe. They weren't sort of coming from being in Europe 2 years ago, where they still
Yeah.
had a number of players. So they had a lot of players they
Hmm.
need to bring in. They don't have the biggest resource in the world to start with, and therefore
Hmm.
you're not building from a strength of, well, I've got loads of money to spend. I don't know how far I'm going in the competition. I don't know which competition I'm going
It's my
in.
man.
And I think that really impacts it. And I think if you're Palace, you can go, look, do we try and spend a load of money on a load of players just to get bodies in? because if they don't work, that's going to cost you. And then you've got them stuck here on Premier League wages, trying to shift them to European clubs. And you're not talking about the big ones if they haven't worked, that don't have the money to take their wages. And you can store up long-term problems. So I think their approach is kind of sensible here, which is let's just keep adding little bits of quality. And yeah, we're just going to have to accept that the numbers-wise, we're going to be short and we're probably going to fall over in February, March onwards.
Yeah.
And we'll probably finish about 12th.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so 2 more games to cover. I don't even think we need to talk about Wolves. Let's talk more on Aston Villa. Right now, I think they are getting the right level of results. But the question that comes to me, Achike, what's up with the Watkins? Is it that right now with the way Marlon is playing, he's not going to get his run back in the squad again?
I mean, Watkins is an interesting one because I like Watkins a lot. I've always liked him as a player. But it's one of those things where, he's might be carrying a bit of a niggle because he doesn't start every game. He doesn't finish every game. He doesn't start every game. So when I see that happening to a player,
You're right. He doesn't finish at all.
Fair enough. He's not got a goal this season, right? Or does he have 1 goal or something?
I think he has one, doesn't he?
Against Fulham, yeah.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, against Fulham.
Against Fulham.
Because so it's one of those things where I think sometimes you play a player into form, but you also get him out of the firing line enough so that it's not a big talking point. Because as it is now, Villa on a good run. So whether he's
they're
scoring
the
or
informed team. Sorry to interrupt. They're the informed team right now in the Premier League. If you look at the last 6.
Yeah, because so they're not really in that position where it's like, oh, it's a crisis. If they had like 5, if they had like on Liverpool form, then it'd be a crisis. But now, and the good thing about it is, if you're getting goals from elsewhere, then he doesn't feel that pressure as well. And then Marlon starts ahead of him and then gets a goal here or there. Buendia starts on the left. They move people around. And, I mean, Emery's a good coach. I mean, it didn't work out for him at Arsenal, which everybody keeps reminding us. But sometimes people are not a right fit somewhere. And I think he'll come good. Like, they were never as bad as it looked. And they have enough players because they do have a bit of a squad. I mean, they get injuries to players at the worst time. But their defense looks a bit settled. The midfield looks a bit settled, and depending on their fixtures, I think it's the kind of thing where over this Christmas period, he might get like bang 2 goals in like 3 games, and it'll be like the team is doing well. And sometimes, if the team is doing well and the forward isn't scoring, you just need to keep him plodding along.
Okay, so I'm done. I want to talk about Jadon Sancho. There was so much hype around him when he was about to go to Villa, and folks were thinking that this was going to be the time that he will get the left amount of game time to unleash that potential that we claim he has. When you have old folks like John McGinn and other folks sitting ahead of him, do you think that has been was a terrible investment?
For which player, terrible investment?
Sancho.
I mean, Sancho's not worked out anywhere, has he, really, for a long time? So, yeah, I mean, yes, for the time being. I mean, the talent's there, but no one's unlocked it for so long. You do start to worry because it's not exactly like a one-season worry. It is starting to be a pattern for him. I think not as bad as Harvey Elliott has been for him. But yeah, look, I just don't know what the answer is for Jadon Sancho. Whether is it an ego thing? Is it a lack of hard work? I mean, he got a terrible rap at Manchester United, but was that again just because things weren't right there? I don't know. So I don't know what the answer is with Jadon Sancho. I really don't. But there's a player in there.
Okay, so. Yeah, so I think as a Man U fan, don't take a stab at this.
My point on Sancho is I think Sancho has fallen into the trap of being misprofiled from early on. I think if the big bust-up hadn't happened with Ten Hag and everything, I think Sancho would be wonderful in this current United team as one of the 10s behind the striker, as one of the forwards behind the striker.
How many 10s do we want?
No, I'm just saying that's the thing. We might if he hadn't had the bust up, we might not have gotten Mbeumo or Cunha. Because you see, when you play wide in Germany, right? Like Sancho, so there's 2 types of wingers in my opinion here. There's the winger who has the pace to push the ball and beat the man, right? 2 things make you a very good winger or wingback is pace to beat the man or the quickness to put the man out of the position and then go make a pass or whatever. I think Sancho is very good at that small space, beat the man in that first touch, but he doesn't have the extended pace to go away from the man. So when he comes to United and you want to play him in that, from the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wide man team or the counter-attacking wide man team, that's not his strength. But he's been profiled as a winger now. So any team he goes to, in England, he gets put there. When he went back to Borussia Dortmund, he played more of as like a winger who comes in with an overlapping fullback. The same way.
Inside forward.
Yeah, an inside forward. The same way, I mean, my boy, who I just hate how his career's worked out in Man United, Rashford, right? Like, his best seasons have always worked with an overlapping fullback, so he can cut it and have a shot and all that. When he's asked to play out wide, just as a wide man with no overlapping fullback, those have been his worst seasons. And it's funny because, like, Sancho's not a kid anymore, and he will end up, if things are not righted, I mean, his contracts end up at the end of the season. I don't know if Villa are going to take it up. He needs to go somewhere that plays to his strengths. And I don't blame him. I mean, if you're going to offer me so and so wages, I'm not going to take a wage cut to move elsewhere because you're not using me right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fans have this issue with like players and I'll drop your wages just to play football and all that. I mean, we all have jobs. If my manager is not using me to the best of my abilities, I'm not going to take a wage cut to go elsewhere. I'm going to try my best when I get the opportunity. And it's just, I feel sad for him because there's a player in there, but he's been misprofiled so badly, in my opinion.
I think that's a really good answer to that question. And I think there is a lot of truth to that, to be fair. I don't know if there is an ego in there because, United were talking about there being an ego in there, but they would. That suits their narrative, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's a problem player and that's why we got rid of him. You're not going to sit there and go,
our highest paid players end up being problem players. Like, that's a narrative that comes from within the club that upsets me till today. I mean, it's not going to happen with Casemiro because he's too old and wise for that. He just put his head down and doing his thing. But if you notice, the problems are always with the highest earners. From Ronaldo to De Gea to Rashford to Sancho, all the highest earners just have a problem.
Sure. Yeah. So the final fixture we're going to look at was what would you say, Nottingham Forest versus Brighton. This was not a game I was going to certainly watch, but I thought Sean Dyche should have had enough in the time to see up Brighton. But Brighton is just one funny team. They tend to get some kind of results when they expect them to do.
They're so unpredictable, man.
Yeah. So can you give me your honest take on the game, Dom?
No surprise for me here. I had, Brighton as they were my dark horse for a Champions League spot. I didn't think they'd get there, but finishing fifth, I didn't think was out of the question for them. That's currently where they are. So, I think there's a lot in this for Brighton. Nottingham Forest obviously improving under Sean Dyche, obviously still a decent side, but Brighton I think are a very, very good side. I think they're really well suited to play sides like Nottingham Forest as well, just the way they're set up kind of suits them. So this doesn't surprise me at all. And they're up to fifth. Liverpool you'd have thought will overtake them. Manchester United could. Maybe they fall to seventh, but they're gonna finish in Europe this season. I'm quite convinced of it.
Nice. Achike, what about you?
Not same because they're such an up and down team, but I think their ceiling is quite high. So I think that's the advantage you have because I'm looking at their next 5 fixtures. They've got Villa, West Ham, Liverpool, Sunderland, Arsenal. They could win 3 of those 5 easily. But then if they ended up losing 4 and drawing 1, I wouldn't be equally surprised. They're such a weird team. It's such an interesting team. But I think when you're a team that has a high ceiling and a high floor as well, they will do well. Like Dom said, they're the kind of team where you think they could put up the kind of run where they'd be 5th, 4th for a while, and then have a run where they would just drop down, lose a couple of games in a row, and be down to 7th and 8th. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
Their big advantage is no European football this season.
Yep.
It's a big advantage for Manchester United too.
Yeah, but when we don't seem to be taking it. But then again, you see, I say that, right? But then at the start of the season, what were the expectations? My expectations were what? 5th, 6th, 7th?
Europa League, right? Europa League was the aim.
Yeah, Europa League was the aim, which is 5th, 6th, 7th. And we're currently 7th or is it 8th?
7th.
So, and we've played all the top 4 from last season. We've played some really good sides, It's one of those ones where people get overly, when we won the run where we hadn't lost in a bit, I wasn't, people mistook what I said after the Liverpool game. I said till the end of December, I didn't expect a loss. Some people took that as me saying we're going to win every game, which wasn't what I said.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, that makes sense. So now let's go to the surprise of the week. This is where you, my panelists, tell me what surprised you in terms of the fixture or whatever within the game week. So let's start with you, Don. What surprised you the most in the game week?
I I so want to make a Tottenham joke. I mean, the surprise of the week has to be that Liverpool won a game, right? No,
Yeah.
no. The surprise of the week really actually was Everton losing as bad as they did. I think when you sort of look at it afterwards, you can kind of go, actually, probably Monday did take it out of them. But I mean, I didn't see them losing 4-1. David Moyes' side's normally so, I know they can, they can have the odd big defeat here. Arsenal tonked West Ham, for instance, under him. But, they're so solid, so reliable. And I thought the high of that, in Newcastle, not great away from home either. I thought all of that would come together. And therefore, seeing them lose 4-1 was a genuinely big surprise to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, that
Actually,
we didn't have Michael Keane and Garner Gaya sent back to the corner on Monday. The old boxing bout.
Yep.
Yeah. I love the banter that they shared after.
Yeah, they've been showing the pictures. And stuff,
really,
yeah.
they really need to clear the air because the media would have gone haywire.
Yep.
on
I mean,
that.
obviously Everton got the points on the day, but I'd have been making boxing jokes all week if I was Everton about how they won it on points and all sorts of stuff like that.
True. I mean, okay, so my surprises of the week. I mean, there were the surprises like I didn't expect to happen from the start of the week, and then the surprises as the week was going on. I mean, at the start of the week, I expected Man City Leeds to be a high-scoring game, like 4-0. I didn't expect 3-2. Second of all, I wouldn't have expected. I wouldn't have expected Sunderland to come back from 2-0 down to beat Bournemouth, and I would have put an under 2.5 on Everton Newcastle all day. And for that game to be 1-4, I was like, whoa. So those were my main surprises. I mean, all joint surprises of the week.
Yeah, awesome. So let's take a look at the injury watch. So these are the key injuries that happened in game week 13. So typically what we do here is to look at these injuries and see who has the biggest impact in their teams, in your opinion. So James Justin at Leeds, MGW in Nottingham Forest, Harry Wilson with Fulham, Sarr for Crystal Palace, Barkley at Villa, and Ruta at Brighton. So let's start with you, Dom. Which injury here will affect the team?
Well, I think you missed one out, a crucial one. I've got a small back injury, and I'm a doubt for the relegation battle tomorrow. Last game of this mini season. We need the points, and I am an injury back.
I like that.
Ismail Sarr, I think for me, we're talking about Palace and an out of games this season. I just don't think they can be affording to carry injuries. I think he's a sort of in and out of form player. He's a very much a confidence player, but he's on a decent run at the moment. So I think he's just about pipping Royster to me, just because Palace can't afford it. They really can't.
True. What about you,
So Ismail Sarr is the one that jumps out. Gibbs White jumps out as well. But with Gibbs White, I think Nottingham Forest have so many players. It could be Omari Hutchinson, it could be Hudson-Odoi. Somebody might come in and put his place. But apart from Kamada playing further up, I can't see where the Ismail Sarr replacement is going to be unless they play two up top with Nketiah and Mateta. So I think Sarr is the one as well. I think Sarr is the one.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Size has the biggest impact and all that. But because he has played too many games. And even before he gets fully fit, he will only live for Senegal for the
True, yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the table and just dwell on this for a bit. Wolves all else as expected, but seeing
in fairness, they have won Connect 4 quite comfortably.
Very.
Oh my God, it's just crazy, man. Well, like you can see Leeds and Burnley with all else, just one win and all that. But I'm thinking that Everton and Newcastle will probably be the team that can probably get back soon. Is there any other team you feel here that should, get around? But I'm not surprised to see Nottingham Forest in 16th. Although they have been struggling with the amount of managers they've had, but surely Sean Dye should do enough to take them further up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Forest will improve under him. They'll finish ahead of Everton and Fulham.
Yeah,
maybe even one of Bournemouth or Palace if they, if they have a struggle. And Bournemouth and Palace, by the way, I think are better sides than them. But you could see one of them falling.
Yeah, makes sense. Achike, any thoughts?
Yeah, same. And also we keep Nottingham Forest have a huge squad, so this December period is going to be quite key. And if you think about Palace, Ismail Assar is going to go to AFCON. They don't have a big squad. Bournemouth, Semenyo is going to go to AFCON as well. Or did they not make AFCON? Ghana didn't make AFCON,
he's
right?
not going. Ghana didn't qualify.
Lucky for them in that respect as well. And then Fulham
Mhm.
are going to lose Calvin Bassey, Chukwueze, and Iwobi to AFCON as well. Yeah, Forest are going to be. Forest are going to. I think they're going to have a good December, early January. Bournemouth I can see dropping. Everton is tricky because they can't. They don't have the forwards to put fear into anyone's life. I mean, Jack Grealish started okay. Newcastle. Spurs are Spurs. I mean, they're missing what? They're going to lose Sa and who else to AFCON? Just Sa, right?
Bissouma
and Sa. Bissouma hasn't been playing much, has he?
Well, I was going to say, losing Bissouma is
it might be an advantage.
Oh no!
but they're also lucky that the Mohamed Kudus is not going to go.
Ghana didn't make AFCON, but
that would have been a big loss for them.
This bottom half could end up being like this, except maybe with like a Palace and Sunderland dropping down, maybe.
Brentford possibly too.
Yeah, Brentford as well.
Not as I said earlier, they're not going to drop anywhere near the relegation zone. Brentford for me,
yeah,
fine.
So looking at the top half, I'm just guessing that Sunderland. Yeah, they have done so well to be where they are, but I think within the next couple of games, the kind of run of games they have, they could potentially come down. I see Liverpool going up with the fixtures they have. Maybe Brighton, Man United. So there's some teams here that might potentially still remain in the top half. Obviously, the guys of the top, but I'm guessing that maybe potentially Sunderland and maybe Brentford will come down. And any thoughts from your minds, you guys?
I mean, United have a good run of fixtures in my opinion. Just that I need all our defenders to get back. I mean, Lisandro Martinez just came on this day, which is good. Maguire's been out for a bit because I think scoring goals
these days.
Oh yeah. He does it at both sides of the pitch, man. I love it. He does it at both sides of the pitch. But I mean, Cunha, Sesko are big misses, especially because we're going to lose Mbuemo and Ahmad for AFCON. But we'll see. I mean, the top of the table is shaping up how I expect it to be. Liverpool cannot be as bad as they've been. I wish they would be, but they cannot be as bad as they've been. And Palace are gonna drop a little bit. They're gonna stop being the force they started the season as, because the squad is just
it's paper thin.
It's paper thin. Chelsea have a big squad. Arsenal, I don't know what's the situation with the two centre backs. Are they out for a while? Gabriel is for like a couple of weeks, isn't he?
Gabriel, I'd expect to see out until after Christmas. Saliba was a knock. I haven't seen anything post game. Fair enough. It was a knock it was a knock in training yesterday. So I wouldn't expect that to be too long. But I mean, oh no, Mascara and Hincapie are going to play.
No, they've done well. But the thing is, Christmas is the period where you want everybody to be fit. So you
do.
Yeah, that is the issue. It's not like I mean, like I said earlier in the game, Arsenal with your two starting centre backs not starting, getting a draw at a top four at a championship rival, it's not a bad result. No. Forget the outrage. But then if you don't want them to be the ones that play 5 games in 20 days, you don't want both of them because they would have to play. There's a League Cup game coming up, right? Yeah. Odo Calafiori might go to the middle, but then Luis Kelly might play.
Or Ben White.
Oh yeah, I forgot Ben White, man. My man, I like that guy.
You're Timber. He plays centre half for Holland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then you don't want Timber to play every game as want That's the thing. You don't want Timber to play every game.
Exactly. There are options, right, for Arsenal, but you're right. You don't want those two centre halves missing for any period of time.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so rounding up, let's go to the predictions.
No, do we have to?
Yeah, we have to actually.
I want to know how did I think this week would go.
So last week, we had 3 panelists, Achike, Reigns, and Ebuka. Ebuka got 2 results correctly: the Brentford, the Brentford Burnley game, and the Chelsea Arsenal game. Obviously, everyone was going to get the Leeds game right and the Villa game right, but every other ones, you guys flunked it. Achike. Well, he tried. He had, I think, 1, 2, 3.
He tried.
5 out of results. Forget scorelines. Scorelines. I've never wanted this to be scorelines. I just want it to be results.
Yeah,
I think my 5 results out of 10 is pretty okay. It's
No,
pretty okay.
it's actually not bad. It's actually not bad.
It's the best of the three. Thank you.
Okay, so it's a head-to-head between Achike and Dom, and we're going to start with you, Dom. Bournemouth, Everton.
It's a tough one. This one. I think you've got to go Bournemouth at home, haven't you? Really here. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 2-1 Bournemouth.
Achike.
I'm gonna go 1-1. Bournemouth will be shocked from the comeback, and Everton will be defensive as F after letting 4 goals in at home.
Awesome, awesome. So
I was debating that one, and then I decided to go the other way. If it's 1-1, I'm gonna genuinely cry.
next game, Fulham, Man City. Dom.
1-3.
Achike.
I was gonna say 1-3, but I don't want to be like a copycat, so I'm gonna go 1-4. Ellen Haaland hat trick.
Oh, gangster.
3 games without scoring, he's gonna be upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna be upset.
By the way, 60% before this weekend's result, 60% of City's XG this season has come from Haaland.
Man, that is crazy.
60%.
Before this weekend's results, yeah. And you can put what you like on XG, but that's mental, right?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like, so basically, if once he has a bad game, then they are cooked.
Yeah,
pretty
and
much.
it's also it's they're looking for him because some people instead of taking a pop, they might just pass it to Haaland. So it might not be just that if he has a bad game, it might be they're always looking for him as well. That's crazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, he set up in that way, so it's not in some ways not a surprise. But the next biggest, I think, across Europe's top 5 leagues of a player in a side expecting to be competing for the league, their XG was something like 37% was the next one. Shows how out of sync that is. But the advantage for City, of course, is if you then go, right, 60% of Haaland, I'm going to put 3 players on Haaland. Foden or Doku or one of these is
Or
going to hit.
Mamouche when he comes when he starts playing again, or Shirky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
That's
a
another
big
thing.
Shirky fan, which might well bite me in a few weeks' time. But
that makes sense.
I'm a fan of his if the team is built around him, and I don't think it'll ever be built around him as long as Foden is there. So he will never. I don't think he'll live to his potential. But then I don't think where he would have gone. Like it was the kind of thing where at United, right? If he was coming to be like Bruno's long-term successor in our former 4-2-3-1, it would be perfect for him. A team built around his skill set. He needs the ball so much. You know what I mean?
he's a big fish, small pond player, isn't he?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay, so Dom, Newcastle Spurs.
Oh God, it could be anything. I mean,
it could be literally anything.
How do you predict a Spurs result? I mean, Spurs could do anything from, going there and randomly winning 3-0 to deciding that, hey, let's see how good Vicario is by peppering his goal with our own players having a shot. I mean, God knows what to do with them. I'm going to go with this one being 2-1 Newcastle.
HK.
Because I can't put them apart, it could go either way. I'll just go to 2-2. I think high scoring game. But then that bit me in the sorry. 2-2.
He's going for a Desmond.
Yeah. Dom, Arsenal, Brentford.
3-1 Arsenal.
HK.
No frills, 2-0.
Dom, Brighton, Aston Villa.
1-1. I think these are 4th and 5th in the league right now. I don't think there's a lot between them. Ollie Watkins is going to get a late equaliser for Villa.
Yeah, that would be epic. Achike, what about you?
Villa to continue their impressive form, 2-1 Villa. Well, 1-2, yeah.
Okay. Dom, Burnley, Crystal Palace.
I also think this is going to be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. I think Burnley will nick a point here because, Palace are just having a little bit of a wobble.
Okay. Achike.
Oh, I was gonna say 1-1 as well.
You can go 1-1.
No,
but 1-1 is such a cop-out score. But I was gonna go that, and then even worse, you've said it as well. I'll feel so bad if I just go 1-1.
Oh, don't worry. God, you can join me on copping out. You all right?
All right. No, not cop-out in a bad way. In
that,
no,
don't you worry.
I'm off. It looks okay. Do you know what? 1-1. It looks like it'll be 1-1.
Yeah.
It looks like the kind of game that'll be 1-1.
Okay. Dom, Wolves, Nottingham Forest.
1-0 Forest. So Wolves 0, Forest 1.
Achike.
0-3.
Oh, interesting. Dom, Leeds, Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea.
Okay. Achike.
2-2.
Dom, Liverpool, Sunderland.
Oh, I'm going to go for a 3-2 Liverpool. Isak will get two, I reckon. And Sunderland will fight back and make it difficult, but Liverpool will hang on.
Awesome. Achike.
I think it's going to be a big whitewash. I'm going for 4-0. Salah 2, Isak 1, McAllister 1. 4-0.
Okay. Then the final fixture of the game week: Man United, West Ham.
You've got to go Akike for this one. It's his
Let me see. You know what? I'm not even sure. If Cunha starts 3-1, if he doesn't start 2-1, so I'll go 2-1. 2-1 Man United.
Dom.
I was going to go 2-1 Man United, but I will go 3-1 Man United just so that when it's 3-1.
When Cunha returns and makes it 3-1 in the last minute as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, guys, so this has been a lot of fun. As always, I'll take your final comments on the game week before we call it a day. So, Dom, how was game week 13 to you?
I mean, obviously, as an Arsenal fan, you're disappointed. As I say earlier, because you feel like it was a big opportunity to get 3 points. But look, Arsenal might have lost 2 points in the sort of title fight to City this weekend, but the league's always full of these ups and downs. I'd have taken a point before kickoff if you'd said we're coming out of this with win against Bayern, win against Spurs, and a draw against Chelsea. I'd have been very happy. The title fight is still very much on, and I think these are two sides. This is my take. This is very much Chelsea reminding me of Arsenal a few years ago. I think these are two sides that are going to be really competing against each other over the next 5-6 years.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me, while Chelsea aren't quite at that level yet, it reminded me of peak Fergie Wenger. There was nastiness, there was bitterness, but there was a respect there between these two sides. And I think you saw that today between the sides. And I think that sort of played into this game quite a lot. So they were my final thoughts. And I think these are two sides that could really, really be going toe-to-toe over the next half a decade.
Awesome. Achike, game 13.
Yeah, so one of the most interesting, the big game aside, Man City getting that win might be pivotal because if that game had ended a draw, there's the creep that the doubt creeps in, all of that. Same with Liverpool, and because the London Stadium, right, is one of those stadiums where that the wrongful sacking of Ten Hag when he was sacked was that result of the London Stadium where the penalty shouldn't have been a penalty. And there's something about that stadium because the technical area is so big, it isolates a manager. It's like you can see him on his own in the wilderness as his team are just going to shit. And if Liverpool hadn't gotten that result today, I would have been more confident in them having a really, really terrible season. But getting that result, getting the clean sheet, getting the victory, I think Liverpool might not be as out of it as we think and as I hope. Those are my main takeaways.
I think they were really pivotal results for those two sides. So I think you're absolutely right. But if anyone ever goes to watch a game at West Ham, take some binoculars because you'll need them.
Yeah, it's so far away. It's so bad. Bad.
Okay, guys. So, Dom, Achike, thanks as always for being in the channel, and thanks for all the fun that we're doing in the chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe about Arsenal. And of course, there's so much football to go around, man. And of course, we'll be here again sometime on Wednesday evening. And hopefully,
why not Thursday evening, man? The last game's on Thursday. Don't forget United. Don't forget United.
My bad. The last game is on Thursday evening, and that's when we're going to do the stream. Particularly, that's all the games have been played. But we'll see.
You're talking about West Ham United, right?
All right, guys. So do have a great evening. Thanks for being part of this with me.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, and stay safe. Yeah, bye.